And the scripture reading is taken from the Lamza translation of the Bible, Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 through 11. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened to you. For whoever asks receives, and he who seeks finds. And to him who knocks, the door is opened. Or who is the man among you who, when his son asks him for bread, will hand him a stone? Or if he should ask him for fish, will hand him a snake? If therefore you who err know how to give good gifts to your son, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him? And thus concludes the scripture reading, Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 through 11. Good morning again. This scripture is a well-known scripture, and it's actually one of my favorites. It's part of the Sermon on the Mount, and during this time in Jesus' life, Jesus has spent some time in the desert meditating, contemplating, and he is ready to teach. In divine metaphysics, a mount represents a state of exaltation. When we are on a mount or a mountain, we are ready to perceive the divine plan, and we are ready to actualize it. Jesus tells us that God is always giving, that all we need to do is ask, but also that a parent knows best what is good for his child. Dr. Rocco Errico is a renowned Aramaic scholar. He has devoted his life to studying the Bible and giving contextual interpretation based on the language of Jesus and the culture of the time. He explains that when Jesus was alive, people lived in tents. They used to keep bread among rocks, and then when they cooked fish, they stored it in baskets for later use. And then snakes would come inside the tent and stay in the basket and then feast on the fish. So people had to be careful to grab the fish rather than the snake, especially when they had to feed their children. And at night, when children were hungry, the parents had to be careful to grab the bread rather than the stone to give to the children. The scripture explains that if men who has not reached yet the state of perfection that God has, is able to discern the bread from the rocks and then the fish from the snake, and knows how to give a child what is good for him or her, the all-knowing, all-pervasive God certainly knows best and give us what is best for us. We sometimes find life difficult. We want change. We ask for change, but just as scripture says, we just have to ask and it shall be given to us. We just have to knock on the door and the door will open. Sometimes we know that for a fact, but we wait and wait and wait, and the door doesn't open, at least not on our own time. We want the change now. However, we're not always ready for the change when we ask for it, but we can have faith that our request has been heard, or rather, it's been sent to the universe for further processing, just like our order on Amazon. We live in a world of instant gratification, though. The orders that I send on Amazon, they have a 2-day turnaround time. And if it's not available through Prime, and if it's going to take more than 2 days for it to be delivered, I'm going to look for alternatives, and I'm going to be willing to pay a little more. But we're not always ready to get what we want. In the material world, if we want something at the store, we're not entirely ready financially, we don't have the money, we can always apply for instant credit or layaway. But a long, long time ago, there was no instant credit, no layaway, And we had to wait until we had all the money to get what we wanted. We had to save. We had to prepare for it. And it's kind of like that with the universe. The universe doesn't usually give us instant credit. So we might say, well, I am so ready for it. But the universe, God, our eternal Father, knows best. And actually, every child knows that deep inside, you can't fool your mom and your dad. They might turn a blind eye, or they can pretend that they don't see, but they know. Yeah, we know. And the universe, God's source, knows. The universe will always get us what we have asked for when we are ready for it. We might have to grow our life credit store, perhaps in the form of a few challenges here and there. So the universe tells us, well, okay, it's coming, but why don't you work on that first? And on that, and on that. And all the while we are waiting. And we say, but I asked for it, so I should receive it. Yes, we will receive when we are ready. And sometimes we ask for something, and then we get something totally different. We ask for a subtle job change, for a promotion. And instead of finding another job, a better job, while we're still working, we suddenly get laid off. The universe knows perhaps that we have become a little too complacent and that the mild changes that we have requested will not help us. They will not bring us the joy that we are seeking or that our soul is seeking. Those changes will not help us fulfill our life goal. So instead of getting that new job or that promotion, we get laid off and we are forced to focus our energy on something totally different. And we need to harness the courage to change course. We open a new business, and after a few months, it makes us feel so joyful, so fulfilled. Now, while we are going through all these changes, it's quite challenging. But we grow. And in hindsight, we realize that it was all worth it. Beautiful things can come out of crises if we allow them. Some people talk about the silver lining. And as humans, we have a tendency to focus on crisis rather than the silver lining. But actually, we live for the silver lining because the universe is very generous. The universe is abundant and can't wait to share. Crisis can make us contract or expand. It's a matter of choice. And sometimes, yeah, we have to contract first. But then, after a while, we are able to expand. And if we open our mind, and if we allow to expand and focus on the possibilities rather than the pain, great things can come out of hardship. When we go through hardship, if we want to not only survive but thrive, we just need to reassess our old ways of thinking, our old ways of being. There are a lot of things going on right now, and it's quite challenging. Well, it's no secret, but yeah, we have a pandemic, Black Lives Matters demonstration, and many of them are being squashed. There's a lot of divisiveness inside the country, and actually, honestly, around the world. There's climate change, and all this is leading to unusual weather patterns. And that's just a few things. And we might want to consider that perhaps collectively we have asked for change, but as a nation, as people, as humanity, there's so many changes that need to take place. And those changes are painful. Right now, a lot of sacrifices are being made. A lot of people are facing an illness that we know very little about. Many people live in fear. of actually getting that illness. And many souls are sacrificing their lives and making their transition. And their families, many are losing friends. So they're living with the pain of having lost the loved ones, or actually several loved ones. And some are even wondering where their next meal is going to come from. Yeah, we honor the frontliners. And we honor those who, as we say, have lost their battles. And there's been a drastic change in society, in the way we live, and the way we are educating our children. We want to go back to normal, but are we ready to go back to normal? Is it a good thing for us to go back to normal? Do we have more growth and expansion to make before we can restore a sense of normal, a new normal, build a new one? We can ask for the challenges to end and for things to go back to normal, and for a vaccine right away, and for everybody to be healthy and happy. But going back to normal, or the way that it was, perhaps it's not feasible. Changes are needed. And the change is most likely what we have asked for. So we need to do more growing. Instant credit is not available right now. So we might not be able to change immediately the situation that we're in, but there's one thing that we can change. We can change how we live this experience. We can look around and say, well, it's all doom and gloom, or we can appreciate the change that's happening, that it's leading to a better planet, a better life for us all. I read in the Washington Post the other day the story of Abraham Walker. Now, Abraham Walker is not a well-known person. He's a guy who lives in Alexandria. He's a normal person. And if he describes himself, he says he's just a naturally positive man. Mr. Walker had posted a question on a neighborhood group on Facebook, and he asked that people share the positive things that had happened to them because of the pandemic. See, he was looking for the silver lining because he lives for the silver lining. He got a whole range of answers, from people being able to see their kids more, and actually that's one of my answers. Also not being stressed out because they don't have to spend an hour and a half in traffic each day. And there was even one woman who described that she had a DNA test on her kitchen counter for a long time. And the fact that she was at home looking at that DNA test, she finally got the courage to do the DNA test. And in the process, she discovered who her birth parents were. That was the silver lining. So we can look at the events happening around us, like we look at them like they are perhaps just storms. We know that we have shelter. Just look at Psalm 91. It reads that if we live in the shelter of the Most High, we find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. If we live in the shelter of God, yeah, we might get a little wet, but we have shelter. We don't have to take all the pain of the world in our consciousness. We can acknowledge that, there are a lot of things going on around us, but we don't have to take it all in. Now, there might be another reason why the changes that we want are not coming when we're asking for them. We are part of the universe, and as such, we live in a state of constant expansion. Our higher self wants that expansion. Our consciousness wants to grow, and that's why we came here. But sometimes our minds want something different. So we say we want to change, but our mind sends a different message to the universe, and it works against the desire of our higher self because we are afraid of changing. So we unknowingly send the opposite message to the universe. Because you know what? It's not only with our words that we ask the universe, it's not only with our prayers, but also with our vibration. Our vibration is part of our power of co-creation. We might say out loud, I am so ready for this change. I'm so ready for this new job or for this new relationship. But the feeling inside of us contradicts that statement because we're scared. So the vibration of being scared tells the universe, no, no, thank you, I'm not ready. I don't want it. And then we see that the change has not occurred. And then we go on to think that perhaps Source has decided that we shouldn't have that change. And by thinking that that Source doesn't want us to have that change, be it overtly or just within our subconscious, it slows down the processing of our request, or it even neutralizes it altogether. Kind of, you know, that Amazon order that we thought was coming from California within 2 days. Well, it's now coming from China by sea. And then it's going to get delayed and delayed and delayed. And sometimes it will never make it. So when we ask for something, we need to keep affirming that we want it, that we're ready for it, and that we know without a doubt that it has already been given. We need to put the fear aside. We need to put the impatience aside. And we need to be happy about what we're about to receive. Because being in a state of gratitude and an acknowledgement that it's already been given, it will send the right vibration to the universe so that our order can be processed and the shipment can be sent without delay. We came here to experience life. We might want to change now. And we can open ourselves to the possibility that the joy is not only in the final destination, but also in the journey. We can look at the end result, keep our eye on the prize, but not be concerned that it's not coming fast enough. We can know with conviction that the universe is working on our request. It's perhaps setting in place ways for us to grow out of our old ways. The joy is in the journey. Let's not focus on the problem, but let's be joyful about the changes and about what we're building, a new us. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Be open to it. Going through changes, even those that we have requested, can be challenging. Our way to look at things, our emotions, determine what our experience is going to be like. Every day is a new day. Every day is an opportunity to create something new. Every day is an opportunity to change who and what we are. Every day is an opportunity to let go of the things that are not serving us. Every day is an opportunity to appreciate what we have, to let go of the concerns that we have about what's happening around us, and then appreciate the changes that are taking place for us and within us. Every day is an opportunity to create joy and be grateful for the life that we have. Many blessings.